Step 3, you grow hard about what you want to be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.
Welcome to Tales from the Field. My name is Bradley Ball, and we are back and better than ever. Last week, we were back with our monthly update for Microsoft Fabric, and then on Tuesday, the week before that, Wednesday, the week before that, we released Microsoft Fabric, use AI skills to create a magic skill. Tomorrow, we are back with more Fabric goodness. And of course, today is Tuesday. You are here for the Azure Data Community Roundtable, and we are so glad to have you with us. You don't want to miss a thing. There is so much to do, so much to see, and we are in the prime time of the year. And wow, it's just going to be a race until we get to December. If this is your first time making it over to the channel, give us a like, give us a subscribe. If you want to make a comment, join the show. One of my amazing co-hosts will see that comment and they will add it to the screen and you will be a part of the show. It's so easy to do so, and we hope to hear from you. Bring your questions, bring your thoughts, bring your concerns. Not sure there's anything we can do about it, but we will try. We'll try and make you better. Speaking of those amazing co-hosts, I am joined by the man in the hat, Mr. Josh Luedeman, the mountain man, Mr. Daniel Taylor, our very own Robin Hood, Marco Aurelio Cardoso, the best beard in the business, Mr. Andreas Padilla. And when people need hope, most of them call Ted Lasso, but I call this man, it's your friend and mine, Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri. Woo, quick call to action. You are here for the Azure Data Community Roundtable, and we want you to join the Azure Data Community. And so how do you do that? Well, go over to the Microsoft site and find the Azure Data Community, find a user group, join a user group, make sure that you are involved, go meet up in person and enjoy some of the wonderful things that we have to be able to offer as part of a community. Then after you're part of a user group, where do we want you to go? Well, we want you to get some free training. How do you do that? Well, you head over to SQLSaturday.com. There's still a couple more SQL Saturdays still to be held in November, but you can already see we've got a couple of them being planned right now for next year. SQL Saturday Atlanta BI Edition is on the calendar for March, and then Jacksonville is already there for May, which is an event that we have loved going to in the past, and maybe we will end up again this year. Who knows? I don't even think we've talked about going to Jacksonville yet. So we'll see how that works out for us. But where else can you go other than SQL Saturday to be able to find some great and wonderful, amazing content and some free training? Data Saturday. Take a look at Data Saturday. It's got so many wonderful events across the globe, and it is fantastic for you to be able to find. Datasaturday.com. It's a great thing. That's the second place you want to go after SQL Saturday. And if you are a fabricator like I am, and you want to learn and you want to join, maybe head over to our Microsoft Fabric Learning channel. We've got almost 4,000 members over there contributing, adding content. Some of the content that you're going to see today came from that channel. We're over there. The product group is over there. It's a wonderful way to be able to ask questions, get answers. Whew, that was a lot. Andreas, talk to me, Goose. What'd you do this weekend?
I went boating. You know, we were jumping off a boat. There's nothing better than having a friend with a boat. That's the best thing. I got off and I said goodbye. That's what I did. You know, get a friend with a boat.
When you get on the boat, the first thing you do, you go, this boat is real.
I know. They have drinks there,
right.
and then you get off and you can go home and you don't have to clean it or put anything away.
Josh said that was only so. I mean, you know, maybe if T-Pain was on the boat, you would have gotten that a little bit better. This boat is real. Come on, I'm on a boat. Nobody's gonna.
It wasn't for Andres. It was for you.
But here's the thing.
I know. It was.
This is the second time I think you've been on this boat, Andres, and I think it's the second time that you've admitted not to cleaning this boat. Do you get invites back? When you don't, I mean, that's kind of slick. I'm not sure. Yeah.
This is true. Dan, great memory. This is the second time and the third. There's been plenty of times where I just get off the boat and I don't clean or help. Yeah. What do I do? What do I bring to the relationship? Maybe a six-pack of beer.
Best beard in the business is what he brings. Yeah. Well, and
that's all I got to do.
There we go.
So.
You know, and what I think we have all learned is none of us ever want to go boating with Dan on Dan's boat, because when we get off that boat, we aren't going home. Dan's going to be like, help me clean the boat.
Get out your knives. We're gonna scrape some barnacles.
He's been waiting for somebody to come over and go on the boat with him just so he can clean it. I don't think he's been cleaning the boat. He's waiting for other people.
Clean some barnacles, you salty dogs.
That's the hack that Dan has right there. Okay, now speaking of things, not a hack, but something that's great and bringing a little goodness into our lives. It's the one and only, the Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri, coming in with the Fabric October 2024 monthly update. Neeraj, what do we got going on here?
So we had a Fabric PG meet last week, talking over what releases will happen on the October. So if you missed it out, another blog for you from Patrick LeBlanc, going over what things were released in there. The best two things is, one, certified for Fabric, which is now still free. So if you want to get certification with the Fabric, that is definitely free. A new certification for data engineers is coming up, and if you want to go and try it out, that is definitely a big thing to do. And the third one is hackathon. So that definitely is an add-on if you're interested. But overall, the biggest thing I think when I was excited about was the WhereCare Max in the warehouse, which is in public preview. That is something big that came out. A lot of visualization changes. And I'm hoping that there should be big releases coming up in the next Ignite meeting. So hold your breath. We don't know what's coming, but we are hoping that we'll have big announcements or something that we are looking forward in the Ignite side of
it. We kind of know, but we can't tell you.
I don't know.
As a matter of fact, I do want to put a little teaser out there for this, because we are at this point in time in the year. So next week we are at Live 360. And we are not going to have a roundtable because we're going to be busy. Andreas, you're going to be up at Ignite. And so we're going to be active in some different conferences. The week after that, it's Thanksgiving. And we talked about maybe we're going to hop on and we're just going to get together. It might not necessarily be an Azure Data Community Roundtable. We might just be talking. But that might be something that we do just to pop on, spend a little time with one another, because I'm always thankful for you all. But the week after that, the week after that, it will be the December wrap up, which is going to be post Ignite. And I can't tell you exactly who, but I've already got 2 people from the product group that are going to be on the show for Microsoft Fabric. And it's not 2 people that you would typically guess. If you were thinking product groups, you might actually be a little bit surprised. And I don't know why I'm having a buffering issue. So instead of me going next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take things over to Dan. And I'm going to try and figure out my internet issues right now. And so, Neeraj, go ahead.
No, I just want to say that if you are in Ignite, stop by at Andreas, speak to him about Fabric. I mean, I don't know if you can answer also or not, but just kidding. Stop by Andreas, collect the stickers. He's going to give you stickers also. So stop by with Andreas. He's going to be there. Andreas, you're Tuesday onwards, right? You're up there.
I'm working the booths Wednesday and Thursday. Come by, talk to me about Fabric, talk to me about Databricks, talk to me about AI. Love to see you all. And I'll point you. I will get the higher powers, Brad, Josh, Marco, Neeraj, to point you in the right direction.
Higher powers.
You got, and Dan.
I like it. Yeah.
You guys are all my higher powers. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a simple builder.
Well, I was going to say, here's something that'll take you a little bit higher. We've got the new features in Microsoft Fabric and the Data Factory import-export experience. And I've got this by Mr. Erwin de Klerk. Erwin is, of course, a fantastic MVP for us over and working and doing so much in Fabric and in our analytics space. And what he's doing is he's specifically talked about some of the import and the export data pipelines, the different templates that we have in place that we've released as a part of Data Factory. And then also a quick conclusion. Now, look, uploading a template from Azure Data Factory or Synapse is not supported, but notice this, at this time, I'm just going to leave that there. And then I'm going to tell you, I am so incredibly excited for the update that we're going to have with Microsoft Fabric after Ignite, because we all know there's going to be a lot of great announcements. I'm very excited about the things that we're going to see released at that point in time. and that's just going to be a wonderful, wonderful time for us. But I've got 2 folks. I'm getting ready to confirm a third and maybe a fourth. But that December update is going to be one that folks just aren't going to want to miss. And we will also have a whole host of videos that we are working on. I've got a great one with Mark Price Mayer that's actually going to be coming out tomorrow. So I hope everybody stays tuned for that. But speaking of something I want you to stay tuned for, when this man talks, you're going to want to listen. And of course, you know who I'm talking about. It's the one and the only, the mountain man, Mr. Daniel Taylor. 2 new functions in SQL 2019. Dan, what do we got going on here?
So, huge shout out to Haripriya Naidu. I got a chance to meet her in SQL Saturday Boston. New star of data. Just spoke at past summit. So I want to give a huge shout out there. Excellent speaker from end to end. It was very exciting. And I believe she brought this up in her SQL Saturday Boston, but I had no clue about this FN page res cracker function. I didn't know it existed. I love finding out about new things. So Haripriya goes through and it gives us a example of how we would want to utilize this, right? How we can troubleshoot page related weight stats. She gives us an example query a little bit down below. But what really drew me to this article, and I'm not sure if it's a little bit delayed there on your side, Brad, but if you could scroll down a little bit for me, that would be awesome. I know we're having some weird technical, it could be on my side, but here she gives an example of a query to show which pages are being locked and what their weight type stat is. Really good here. We don't need to know the IDs or anything like that anymore because it'll identify us if it's a PFS, a GAM, or an FSGAM, page free space, global allocation map, for example. And there you can see on the screen, it identifies for us what the page weight type is. So the part that really drew me to this article was she shows how to, and this was what she did her presentation on in SQL Saturday Boston, was how to identify weight types in TempDB to see if you're having contention. She throws together this awesome query to show if you're having weight types or page latch contention in your TempDB, and this is an easy way to identify it. If you get to see her in person, please go see her. Excellent presentation on how to troubleshoot TempDB. Probably one of the best ones I've seen out there, and I've seen a lot on TempDB troubleshooting, and she nails it from end to end. So great article by her.
That is fantastic stuff. I always love it when we get something with SQL and something that isn't widely known. It's wonderful and it's amazing. This is a great tool to be able to use. But also, if you're having TempDB contention, you know where you need to be. You need to be on SQL 2022, and you need to be using the latest compatibility version because David Pless took care of all that, and we don't have nearly that many issues. So it's a wonderful advancement that we have in SQL 2022. Talking about wonderful advancements, whenever this man talks, I get smarter. And I always look forward to hearing him. And you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the best beard in the business, Mr. Andreas Padilla, getting started with the semantic kernel. I love the semantic kernel, Andreas. I've used it in Fabric a couple times with some of the videos that we've done. Tell me, what do we got going on here?
Oh, my God. I mean, we're going south of the border. And on top of that, the big shout out to Luis and Pablito. Pablito son unos grandes. But Luis is in Mexico. Pablo is in Argentina. These guys are putting out great content. I love what they did with this, getting started with semantic kernel. They talk to you about the kernel, the overall flow of what's going on. But the best thing that I got from this great nugget is the way they set up the Visual Studio project. And which it's a great setup. So if you're doing things in Visual Studio, they show you how to set it up and get a nice pipeline set up so you can now, instantiate the objects you need, call your OpenAI endpoint, and then start, creating plugins and calling functions. Thank you to this, Paulito, Luis. You guys are up there, in terms of great pairs. I mean, who are the great pairs in history? Luke and Bo. Pinky and the Brain. Who else do we have? Oh, Lucy and Ethel. Brad and John.
Beavis and Butthead.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Present day, I would even say Colin Jost and Michael Che. If you haven't watched Weekend Update in a while, you're coming in. You would be coming in at a perfect time, because Weekend Update, we're coming into the holiday season, and that's where it gets really, really funny and nasty, where they start writing jokes for each other to read.
Would bread and
haven't-
would
What was
bread and
that?
pineapple would bread and pineapple work?
Bread
that
and
good, Ken?
pineapple always works, but pineapple and pizza never works. There you go,
That's
Neeraj.
nice.
That's everything you need to know and everything Brad should figure out.
Once again,
I was going to say I'm gone for 10 seconds, and Josh is loving pineapple. I mean, this delay is great. Absolutely, Josh. Pineapple
We were
on
talking about
pepperoni
buddies.
pizza, the best thing you can ever have. Best thing you can ever had. What's that? You're breaking up. Sorry.
Yeah, you're still
I'm going to
having
go
issues.
over to Marco. Marco, look at you. You have this wonderful next article that we have: accelerate and scale with Azure OpenAI service provisioned offering. Marco, what do we got going on here?
All right, so really interesting announcements. This block covers two things, and the main topic here, the main motivation behind this is GPUs are expensive. Up to this point, it's been a challenge to allocate GPUs in any region that you choose. It's hard to come by. It's expensive to allocate. And Azure OpenAI, as so many services that work using GPUs, depends on it. So two big announcements here. One, we have a new type of deployment within Azure OpenAI. That's the data zone deployment. And this is something a lot of my customers have been looking for, where we have a distributed sort of capacity. So we get more GPUs in different places, but we still get to control data residency. So you can choose now between multiple regions, but within the US or within Europe, and you can guarantee that your data does not leave the continent or does not leave a certain place in the globe. So this is a really cool announcement. And along with that, we get that same sort of capacity for provision deployments. So that means not only do we get data residency with these deployments, but we get to provide them at smaller increments. So something that happens a lot with provision deployments is that they had a really high starting point. So you used to, have to really open your wallets just to get started with the service. And while it provides better performance, better reliability, it's a really high entry point. So it's hard to experiment with the service. That is changing now. So with this zone deployment and global deployments, we're able to reduce that by, I think, 70%, the entry point, and the increments by 90%. So you get to play around with the service, which with much smaller deployments that still provide all the capacity and still provide all the reliability. So really interesting stuff. Some of this is coming into GA right now. And I'm sure we're going to have more announcements within Ignite, but we already have some really cool stuff to play around with until then.
Excellent stuff. You and I were actually talking about that recently, because there's been some announcements recently by OpenAI for some new services that they have announced. And I was asking you this question because a customer I'm working with specifically asked me, hey, does Microsoft have an equivalent of this? I think we were talking about Swarm. And one of the things that you said to me was, Brad, if I were a betting man, I'd be looking at next week when we've got Microsoft Ignite. And I went, that's a wonderful, wonderful point, because that is when we're going to make our big announcements. And that Swarm piece looked really, really cool. Stateless AI. And this looks like an awesome precursor of something like that, to be able to allow that to be geo-redundant, to be able to allow the deployment to be that much cheaper. Because that's the key thing. AI is expensive, but as we have more hardware, as the models get more optimized, we're going to find that things get faster and faster. We didn't have these tiny models at first. We only had the large models. And so we can kind of see that, there was a one size fits all at the beginning. And now we're getting into more of a tailored capability for the AI models and the cost, depending on where we need. this is a fantastic forward-looking way of looking at this, and I'm super excited to see what the announcements we're going to have next week are. Speaking of something I was super excited about, I think it's been a while since I saw this man's blogs on the system, and it is brought to you by one of the people. He's the top minds in the industry, and I love him to death. And of course, you know what I'm talking about, Mr. Josh Luedeman, and he's brought to us Mr. Kevin Chant, Fabricator's Guide to Microsoft Fabric Deployment Pipelines. This is an incredibly important subject because, as we know, as Fabric continues to mature, one of the things that large-scale enterprises need is that capability to do CI/CD integration, and Fabric Pipelines is a large portion of that. So, Josh, what do we got going on with Mr. Kevin Chant's blog?
Hey, Kevin's back with greatness again. And, you know, if you've watched plenty of episodes of the Roundtable, you know I gravitate towards some of these more operational issues to kind of, you know, simplify the management and operation of some of these products. In this blog here, Kevin actually goes through and walks through the deployment pipelines, even from history, where, you know, talking about deployment pipelines and where they got their start, how they, you know, in Power BI, and how they've kind of grown from there to support Fabric and things like that. He goes into deployment rules, which are actually putting, you know, conditional logic in there for rules for different environments and rules on specific items, and goes through and points everybody about how you can find out where some of the new features are dropping. You know, because when I first saw this blog, I thought Kevin was really brave to take it on, because of the areas of Fabric, I would say that management as a whole, but also, you know, these deployment pipelines are one of the quickest moving areas I felt like recently. So this was definitely a brave one for him to take on, and I appreciate it. But I liked it too that he put in there, you know, how do you find out when new items are supported? And he gave you the links to the blog, but also checking the list of supported features in the documentation for updates, you know, is probably going to be the best way to go. He ends it with talking about the APIs that are available for the deployment pipelines and working in CI/CD and how to do that. So, you know, overall, great article as always from Kevin. But yeah, I love this sort of thing. Sorry, I'm a nerd like that.
I do too. It is such a great subject. Kevin takes something that is incredibly complex. He breaks it down. He makes it simple and easy to consume. That's a sign of true mastery right there. And when I think of a master, I think of someone who has just perfected their craft. Yeah.
Hold on. Next time, you throw me under the bus about pineapple on pizza with falsehoods.
I'm sorry, Josh. I can't hear you. It's moving on. We've got mastery himself, and Neeraj Jhaveri was simplifying data ingestion with copy job upsert to SQL database and overwrite to Fabric Lakehouse. Neeraj, I think you may have the longest title of the week. I'm just saying. I haven't gauged them all out, but this definitely feels like a contender. Marco might be doing some stuff with AI in the background to let us know if that's actually the case or not. I know he's normally a contender in these things, but tell us, what do we got going on? Upsert to SQL database, overwrite to Fabric Lakehouse. This is a big deal.
It is a big deal. So, I mean, the customers that I work with, they're like, yeah, you can do app inserts into that thing. It's always hard. I mean, people want to understand how to do upserts, and now we have it. Like if you go into your advanced settings, you have a button called upsert, and that what it will do is, instead of doing just the inserts, you could do upserts with I think it's the data to chain data capture. Right now, upserts are only available for SQL DB or SQL Server, but in future, definitely, as we keep on going on the Fabric side, there might be a few things coming in. This feature is only available in the Fabric Lakehouse tables, so that's something that you might be able to use it up at this point of time. But yes, something that would excite everybody up there.
Absolutely. I like it. And were we better off without Brad Judge's rule? No, you were not. I think that's the truth of it. And Josh asked, where did the term upsert start? It started, Josh, when you put pineapple on the pepperoni pizza, because that was how you upserted it into perfection.
No, that's where truncation got started. Because when you add pineapple on a pizza, you truncate the whole damn thing into the garbage can. Next article.
I don't think that's the.
As he's pausing, I think that's fake news. I really do.
As he's pausing, I think it's the universe's way of stopping him, his rebuttal.
And you all know from Jerry Maguire, the kid
Case
always has ways. Oh, whoa! What? Brad just time there. Brad just teleported in. It's the Terminator.
The universe said, "Brad, you are wrong. You were removed properly from the show while talking about pineapple on pizza. This is your punishment because you get to freeze for like 10 seconds and then come back and go."
The real punishment was everybody who had to hear Josh go on and on for 10 seconds about how right he was. I don't even need to be here to know how that sounded. But you know what I do want to talk about? I want to talk about the amazing Davide Murray and Pooja Kamati, who have seen the public preview come to fruition. We've gone from private preview to public preview of the native vector support in Azure SQL database. This is a big deal, and many of us on this call were involved with helping out with the private preview and working with customers doing AI solutions like this. I'm so excited to see this technology come into private to public preview. A big congratulations to Davide and to Pooja. Great work by them, and great work by the developers underneath the covers who have done this work. And so what we have is we have SQL database as a vector store, because we now have a native vector type within Azure SQL database. And we have built-in functionality to be able to determine the distance that we have on these vector types so we can find similar values using these functions. Not only that, we have a robust ecosystem with LangChain integration, semantic kernel integration, EF core integration, and Azure Logic App integration as well. There's performance and scalability, and there's some things that we can't even talk about that are coming for this. Maybe you'll hear a little bit about them at the past summit last week, or maybe you'll hear more about them coming up at Ignite. But there's some amazing advances coming for this technology next year that I'm so excited about. So if you want to get started, there's a whole list of links right here. There's a wonderful repo, this GitHub for Azure samples for SQL vector database. There are entity core examples if you're looking for C# code. There's Logic App examples. There's Python examples and PySpark examples. There's so many wonderful examples in here. If Davide has an example for it that he spoke about in the blog, it's going to be at this GitHub location. And what we want you to do is we want you to go and read about this, because if you're using AI, these vectors are that shortcut to be able to help you pass these vectorizations through, find this information, provide some where predicate values to do some filtering of the data that you are passing through to the models to be able to filter it in a role-based way. So there's a lot of amazing goodness in that update that was announced last week. Congratulations to the team about that. We're very excited for them. So good work, everybody. And speaking of more good work, well, we got more good work coming in from this man. And of course, you know who it is. It's the mountain man, Mr. Daniel Taylor. All about Parquet, a 10-part series. I mean, Dan, you had me at 1, but give me 10. I'm down for this. What do we got going on?
So 2 things before I go into the article. Pooja and Davide are the most approachable people that you will ever meet. Please, when they're out at the conferences, they're there for you. Go sync up with them and just sit down with them. They're 2 of the most incredible people that we have working on that product. There's all the people incredible, but they're some of my favorites. Yeah.
They are. Oh, and I can listen to Davide talk all day long. I mean, Davide I mean, he's got beautiful voice, lyrical accent. He's fantastic.
He is fantastic. The second thing, just like the Jerry Maguire, the little kid that always used to say, you know, the human head weighs 8 pounds. I always like to share that pineapple consumes the human body. So just a note there, if you do eat pineapple, look it up. I learned that little strange fact.
You are what you eat.
And so pineapple you are what you eat. There we go. So, but let's get to the article, right? Alex Merst here did a 10-part series. It was funny because the first part of the series, when it dropped, it was like number 7. He accidentally dropped number 7. He was like, well, consider it a teaser, folks. But what he does for us here is he identifies here what Parquet is, what it does, right? It's efficient with compression. It can provide faster queries. If you have schema evolution, it's great to use that if you're constantly dropping or adding columns, and it's got cross-platform compatibility, big word there, GRE word.
Compatibility, capitulation, one of those.
All kinds of things. Yes. And then he goes through the difference between row-based and columnar formats, which is really important to know. Some of the key features of Parquet, right? He mentions columnar storage, which is why he shares that up there. Efficient compression, splittable files, rich data format. When to use Parquet. The reason I love this article, it was really appropriate because I had some folks that I was just talking to about our Azure Synapse Analytics platform, back to the days of dedicated pools and stuff. And they were using Parquet files for their serverless databases. Well, they were using a lot of little small files and they weren't getting very good performance. And they were using thousands of them. So I shared this article because right here in this little blurb at the end, however, Parquet may not be ideal for small, frequent updates or transactional systems where row-based formats are more suitable. So right there, the whole article summed it up for the client, and they were like, oh, we didn't know that. I was like, yeah. So great article, definitely worth going out there and reading Alex's 10-part series.
Excellent work. And speaking of excellent, I always love it when I get a video from this man because it's worth watching and it's always worth learning. You know who I'm talking about? I'm talking about Mr. Andreas Padilla. Andreas, we have AI agent monitoring dashboard over on Vector Lab. What have we got going on?
Well, I'm concentrating on fearsome duos today, and this is another great post by another fearsome duo. Laura and I'm so sorry, and Maria from Vector Labs. Check out their YouTube channel, people. This is a one-stop shop for everything AI Databricks. I love this, all the content that they're putting out. But what I love about this particular post is that they show you how to inject into your AI agents RAG scenarios using Databricks, how to evaluate them, how to monitor those agents for quality, for precision, to see if anything is grounded properly, hallucinating. And then they give you a great notebook that you can push into your pipeline, and it's really easily configurable, the notebook, that once you get that in, it will start bringing in your information from your Delta Lake, and then any questions that you want to ask from the Delta Lake, and then pair that with Gen AI. It'll give you back an evaluation in a nice dashboard telling you, hey, guess what? The answers are correct. The answers are not correct. And all the other, information that you need for evaluations. Are the answers fair? Do they make sense? Is it, what are the other ones for evaluations? I keep forgetting. But anyways, check this out. In 11 minutes, you'll upload that notebook into your Databricks workspace. You'll create a RAG application. You'll start to evaluate it, and then you'll also create a dashboard to go along with it.
Excellent stuff. Fantastic. I always love it. I love the theme. I was trying to figure out the theme. Dynamic duos. That was it. That is great stuff. No, I love it. And I just realized I have not updated it. So while we are going over this next article, I will be updating the description of the video so that all of the links will be live there. And we will have them out before the end of the show. But next up, of course, I've got another amazing article from the one and only, the Mr. Marco Cardoso, announcing Azure OpenAI Global Batch General Availability at scale, processing 50% less cost. Okay, this may be the longest title. Marco may have it after. Marco, did you? I don't know if you did the word count. I didn't do the word counts, but
Marco
Josh
rolled us to sleep with the short titles in the first one, and then came in and said, "God," with the uppercut. That's what this was.
I know. That's what he does.
It's just announcing Azure OpenAI Global Batch General Availability. That's still a lot of words. Anyway,
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that's like the longest named service we probably have right now.
Yeah, kind of. Well, anyway, this is not a new feature, but it's new in general availability, which is very important to a lot of folks. And it's very important to me as a developer because once things hit GA, they stop changing and they can be relied on. So what is this batch service? Well, this particularly called my attention because I have been working with a customer that's working on a large-scale ETL pipeline that has one of its stages involves AI. So it's all about extracting information from documentation. So they have two sets of documents and they want to compare, hey, what does this document cover that's missing from this other one? So that step of extracting the topics and comparing, that's done through OpenAI. And the funny thing about that ETL pipeline is that everything is based out of tables. So you've got a table of documents, you extract the documents in batch, you move data at large scale, and at that point, when we're using AI, it's one thing at a time. It's one chunk at a time. So we're splitting documents into chunks, and then each chunk goes into OpenAI. And if you work with ETL at all, you know that managing quota is hard. It takes a while making sure that every stage has a catch for if you exceed your quota, you will try again in a couple of seconds, exponential back off. It's hard. It's not a simple task, especially when we're considering large amounts of data. This was a pipeline that was taking about 5 minutes, and then we added that one step that requires one thing at a time, and that went up to 2-3 hours. So Global Batch works here. It's all about, instead of providing one chunk at a time, you provide all the data you want OpenAI to process. You don't decide when it gets processed, but once it gets picked out by the algorithm, it'll use GPUs at an appropriate time, maybe at midnight, maybe in the middle of the night, where nobody is using it. And you can guarantee that it will work eventually. So you have a guarantee, until the next day it works, which isn't a problem for a lot of ETL pipelines. And you get a much more reliable service, a lot cheaper. It's overall an amazing service to use if you're doing this with ETL pipelines.
Fantastic stuff. And I agree with Daniel Taylor. Chunk is my favorite Goonie as well. And talk about a movie, it doesn't need a remake, but I don't know if you've noticed, there in D23, they dropped some trailers. I'm very excited for the Marvel movies coming out, but the skeleton crew for Star Wars made me think of those Goonie-like child, space adventures, adventures overall with kids as the main characters that we used to get. It was very Goonies-esque. I know that is completely off topic, but go check out the content. All the content is live. If you refresh the page, it's okay to do that. If you refresh the page, if you check the description of the video, every single link that we have covered here today and the next one we will cover are live. Please go check out those great creators, give them some clicks, take a look at this, continue your learning with some of these articles. There's so many great things on there that will lead you to other amazing things. And speaking of other amazing things, I always love when we get to combine performance and KQL. And of course, that takes me over to the amazing Mr. Man in the Hat with diagnostics and Azure Data Factory, leveraging user properties and KQL. Josh, if it wasn't for Marco's last title, I think you would have been in the runnings. But I think he stole it with that last title of his.
That's okay. I just blame the feature team at OpenAI for making that long feature name, and he was fueled by that. I'm using actual information related to the article. This title is gangbusters. All right. So again, I knew you'd like this one, Brad, because KQL, but again, going back to my bread and butter, the operational side of this, because we still have a lot of customers to this day who, have talked to us and go, yeah, Azure Data Factory is nice, but I can't get all the reporting and stuff like that I used to be able to with, my SSIS on premises or things like that. Whereas this one here, we have Dieter goes through and actually walks through setting up the proper monitoring and observability setup, but then goes through and says, here's some KQL queries for getting out some of that basic information that you want to know. So he talks about adding in the diagnostic settings, then yes, goes right through and starts saying, here's a few of the KQL queries I've found useful and different things that he's done to enable them, running them, seeing the different activities coming out. It's a great article, especially for, really anybody looking to understand what's going on with their data factory pipelines a little bit more.
This is amazing. I love the breakdown as well. And one of the things that I absolutely love, and Dan, we're working on a workshop with Thomas LaRock for Live 360 next week. And so we're diving more and more into KQL, is the capability to just add in one line a graphical rendering of the data that you can get back as a table. It never ceases to amaze me. It's such a flexible language. And to be able to add this, and Josh, when we were working back with Pragmatic Works, one of the key things, one of the tools they had was the monitoring tool that they sold specifically for SSIS.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when you looked at it, it used the on.net begin and the on.net post for every single object. And so part of those metric capabilities they were grabbing were specifically from there. So if you use those APIs, you are, once again, just like you said, setting up that capability. If you miss that functionality you had with SSIS and the capability to capture those metrics, you can get those for Data Factory. As a matter of fact, you can get those for Data Factory pipelines in Fabric as well, because I would imagine it's just a similar API call to be able to capture those metrics and get that to where you can begin to report on it. This is really amazing. This is great stuff. I love that. That's going to be a lot of fun to dig into. All right. So we are through with the content. Gentlemen, thank you as always for going out and scouring the globe to find amazing things that we can add and we can put into the playlist. I really appreciate that. We are next week going to be, well, actually, Josh, can you tell me, give it to me quickly. Where are we going?
Oh, man. We are going to be on the sunny, luscious grounds of Universal Studios at the welcoming and beautiful Lowe's Royal Pacific Resort and Conference Center at one of the best data conferences around. Best,
the best.
Not even data apps, all of it.
Absolutely.
Live 360.
4 conferences in one. If you haven't seen them, we did the different live streams. We did it with the different track chairs. We talked about the different content they've got. They've got so many pre-cons. They've got so many hands-on labs. They've got so many post-cons. And we're going to be there. Starting on Saturday, we're actually going to be registering so we can do some walkthroughs. And then Sunday, we hit the ground running with our introduction to Microsoft Fabric, our hands-on lab on Sunday. And then Dan and I, on Monday, we have our pre-con with Mr. Thomas LaRock. We are talking about performance tuning with SQL, but we are using Microsoft Fabric and Database Watcher to be able to do it. And then throughout the week, we are there. We have sessions. We have the super top secret session on Thursday, where we will be sharing some big announcements with you. As a matter of fact, there's a couple people I got to connect with. I may have some bits that I install and some things I get to show that the world just, well, they've only seen it one other place. So fingers crossed. I'm excited. But we are going to be at Live 360 right there on the grounds of Universal Studios. Remember, your key park, if you're staying in the Lowe's Royal Pacific Pass, is a 2-park fast pass. Take your family. It's right before Thanksgiving. The park is already decorated for Christmas. The gingerbread tree is up. Oh, it looks fantastic. Josh, I went over there and walked around the other weekend. I cannot wait for all of us to be there.
Maple bacon donut.
Yeah. The problem with that 2-for-1 pass, Brad, is we always eat so much food that I can't go to the parks. I just lay comatose on the floor somewhere.
Roll me back.
That's fair. Don't worry. On Sunday, we're going and we're going to get some ramen, and then on Tuesday we're going to Lee and Rick's. We are going to have a good time. It is going to be an adventure. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who tuned in, who stayed tuned with us. Please take care of one another, and as always, please be good to each other out there. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us on Tales from the Field. Bye, everybody.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you want to be.